Hey everybody, it's Lon Seidman. We've got a quick one today. This is the new Netgear Business Signature Series 8-port Gigabit Ethernet Unmanaged switch. In other words, this is a way to very easily add some more Ethernet ports to your network, and I'll show you how to hook it up in a second. This costs about $40. It's kind of a run-of-the-mill Gigabit Ethernet switch. There isn't any fancy features with it, but what I liked about it, at least from the pictures that I saw, is that it has cable management built in, so you can maybe get a better grip on how your cables look going into it. So if you really have to put this thing out somewhere where a lot of people might see it, you might be able to manage the cables a little bit better. I do want to let you know, in the interest of full disclosure, that I got this free of charge through the Amazon Vine program. However, all the opinions you're about to hear are my own, and no one is paying for what you're about to see, nor has anyone reviewed this content before I uploaded it. So let's take a look at the hardware real quick as we unbox it here. So this is what it looks like. Very attractive, a little bit larger perhaps than other run-of-the-mill 8-port switches like this one. What happens is that you plug your Ethernet ports in here, and what you got are these little cable management things here that you can stick the cables into. So let's try out a few of these and see. Now the problem is this cable is kind of thick, and I don't like the pinching that it's doing on that cable. I guess it might be okay, but I don't like pinching cables ever. And I wish these things were a little bit wider because they are holding the cables in place, but it is crimping that cable almost here. You can kind of see how it's like squishing it as it goes in. So that I am not all that crazy about. But we'll plug in a few more of these things and you can just see what it looks like when everything is connected. So you can kind of like get your cables managed and have everything going in a straight line. You'll probably have to tie them down someplace else, but I really don't like what it's doing here with these cables. I'm probably not going to use this cable management here. All right, let's do one other thing though. Let's take a look at its performance. We're going to do some iPerf tests. We're going to push some data back and forth on the network and make sure it can perform as advertised. All right, so let's take a look and see how this works. There is a power switch here, so you do need to make sure that is switched on. And the way these switches work is that once you connect up an Ethernet cable to your router or another working network port on your network, all of these other ports will now be available to also connect up with your network. So I'm going to plug in that cable there, and we got a nice satisfying click there. And once that is plugged in, you'll see some lights on here. And yes, this cable has seen better days, which is why it's not going into the vice grip here. So you'll see that this thing is lighting up green and blinking. And what that means here, based on our little legend, is that we are connected up at gigabit speeds. You can disable the lights on here just by pushing that button there. And now I'm going to take out another Ethernet cable, which is connected to my Mac over here, and I can plug this cable into any of these ports, because now that we have the router connected up to the switch, any one of these things, again, will be accessible to us on the network. So we're going to plug that in now. We're lighting up green there, which means that we have a network connection. And now we're going to switch over to my Mac here, and we're going to run some network tests. What I'm going to be doing is transmitting some data from this Mac here on my desk through the switch to another computer that's also connected to my Ethernet network to see what kind of speeds we get here. So on the outbound from this computer on the desk here to the one in the other room, we're getting about 940 megabits per second here, as you can see. That is what I would expect out of a gigabit switch like this. So that is working as advertised. And now we're going to reverse the direction of the test so that the computer we were just transmitting data to is now going to send data back to us to see if we're getting similar speeds in the other direction. That computer might have some stuff going on the network, so we might see some variation in speed here, but generally here we're getting what I would expect over 900 megabits per second in both directions. And this switch is capable of handling 16 gigabits per second in total, but each port is going to be limited to 1 gigabit per second up and 1 gigabit per second down. So you won't get 16 gigabits on one port, but each port will operate at its advertised speed. But I'm really not going to be able to recommend this one because of the cable management system. It certainly performs okay, but you can get other switches at the same price that also perform the same. The problem here is that these cables, at least every one that I have, doesn't fit in here without causing some potential damage to the cable. Now, in fairness, this cable was already broken before I put it in here, but nonetheless, I really have a hard time feeling comfortable getting these cables stressed like this when I put it into the cable management system here. So I would recommend another switch that doesn't have this, because they just didn't make these little slots here wide enough to accommodate the kinds of cables that I think most people are going to have when running Ethernet to different devices. So a good thought here. It could have been better if they just had a little bit of a wider cable management tray down here, and as it is currently configured, I don't think it's worth the risk to your cables just to make something look nice. So skip this one. There are other ones out there for the same price from Netgear and other manufacturers. Until next time, this is Lon Seidman. Thanks for watching.
This channel is brought to you by the Lon.TV supporters, including gold-level supporters of the Black Eyed and Blues Music Hour podcast, Chris Allegretta, and Kalyan Kumar. If you want to help the channel, you can by contributing as little as $1 a month. Head over to lon.tv/support to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe. Visit lon.tv/s.